My smile lives in the cold, clear waters running free down to the sea.
Hello. Happy March 2023. Happy spring 2023. This is Jen, and you are listening to Dreaming Out Loud, a monthly audio chat that I offer Patreon subscribers, where we talk about dreams, mostly dreams, memory, time, and all sorts of other fun things: synchronicity, the paranormal, psychic development, art, healing, love. How are you? Where you are, when you are listening to this audio chat? I am recording this on March 21st, 2023. Yesterday was officially the spring equinox, and today is a new moon. And for those of you who are interested in astrology and cycles and time, this week is supposed to be a big week astrologically, inside of a big month astrologically, inside of a big cycle of time astrologically. And I'm curious to hear if you're feeling that, if you're feeling movement, shifting, change, something. What kind of energies are surrounding you these days and your loved ones these days? Because I'm feeling it. And let me just take a minute or a half a minute to just sort of say a little bit more about that, because I feel like we can get caught up sometimes in the language of like energy or astrology or shifts or, transformation. We can get caught up in that language, sometimes stuck, or sometimes, I don't know, maybe we even use that kind of language as a crutch to not actually like dig into and talk about, well, what does that feel like, or what does that look like, or what's our experience like? So for me on the ground, it actually doesn't look so different than what I've been doing every day, my normal regular routine for the last half of a year, just like living in my house and waking up, getting started. I have my morning practices. These days look like journaling and painting, and when my kids need me, it looks like making lunches and driving to school. But my dreams are changing, that's for sure. My dreams are shifting a bit, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in this episode. In my personal life, professionally, I'm taking some risks, taking on some challenges, pushing past comfort levels to grow and to do new things. So that's sort of what I'm feeling lately right now in this period. I think for me it looks like courage to do things differently than I've done them before, because I know that doing them the way that I did them before is like sort of led me down a certain path, and I'd like to try a new path this time around. But to do things different is a little bit also scary for me. So I'm wondering, if you want to send me a message or leave a comment about like how things are shifting for you, or what kind of transformations there have been in your life, I would love to hear about those. If this is your first time listening to this audio, these are unscripted, unedited conversations, and my goal each month is just to bring to you something that's rising up for me, and either I'm curious to share it with others, and to just sort of hear your perspective, or I'm excited about something new I've discovered and I want to offer it to you to try out as well, or just to dive deeper into some of the topics that I've been researching and writing about for over 10 years now, specifically ones that relate to dreams and time and dreams and memory. And I'm always open and welcoming of your feedback and comments. And if this audio chat moves you, I would encourage you to share it with people in your life who are interested in those topics as well. So I want to talk a little bit. I want to get into the topic of dream work. I haven't really talked so much about dream work directly here on the audio chat, though I do reference it a lot. I work bi-weekly with a dream work practitioner, my teacher. The dream work that I'm currently doing for myself, for my own growth and healing, is called Natural Dream Work, and I will leave a link to the Natural Dream Work website in the episode notes. My teacher is Roger Kamenetz, and I definitely would say that he's very well known in the field of dreams, which I always smile when I say the field of dreams. And he has some books. The most well-known one is called The History of Last Night's Dream, which I would highly recommend. So I currently work my own dreams using natural dream work, but I have been independently working my dreams without a teacher, I would comfortably say, for the last 13 years. And then I would say that I've been doing this work since I was an elementary school child. I've been surprised to discover among my school notebooks that I saved, because I'm that type of person, which shouldn't surprise any of you who listen to this audio chat regularly or engage with my other content. I'm hopeless nostalgic. Maybe not so hopeless anymore. I'm actually finding that my dream work is actually working me a little bit with that as well. I save a lot of things, and I have diaries going back to 6th grade, and I have school notebooks going back to high school. And it's been such a pleasant surprise. I mean, more than that, it's tickled me to find dream notes in old school notebooks and in my diaries. So I've been engaging with my dream life since I was in middle school. And I came to this work professionally later in life, but I feel so grateful every day. Literally every day that passes, I feel more and more grateful that I finally arrived at this work professionally, because I love it. I love it. And I want to bring a little bit of that to you today in this audio chat. Why do I love it? But for you, perhaps a listener who maybe is not so engaged with dream work right now, maybe you're just sort of dream curious or dream interested, or you're interested in some of the other topics I talk about, time or synchronicity or psychic development. Like, why bother? Why bother working your dreams? Why bother remembering your dreams? Why bother? That's what I want to talk a little bit today, and I want to share with you personal experiences, not just from my own dream work, but from some of the dream work I've done with others. And I've just been feeling especially moved lately in this work. And I want to share some of that with you. So I found, especially since I started doing dream work professionally, that there are typically two types of people. Now, of course, there's a spectrum of this, but mostly there are two types of people. They're the types of people who are like, oh, I have interesting dreams, or I have cool dreams, or they're people who are like interested in their dreams or think their dreams matter, at least to talk about them a little bit. And they're the ones who like believe pretty strongly they don't have dreams. They don't have dreams. They hardly have dreams. I never remember my dreams. Dreams, who cares about dreams? Like I said, of course, this is a spectrum, but in my experience, there are those two types of people. When I tell people I do dream work, they're like, oh, dream work, what's that? Are you analyzing dreams or, oh? And mostly those people are the ones who are dream curious, right? They have dreams, or they're curious about their own dreams, or they wish they understood their dreams better, or they wish they remembered them more often. And then there are the people I'm like, oh, I do dream work. They're like, dream work? Huh. Is that like therapy? Or they won't have any question at all. They're not really curious. So I am of the belief, I'm sure it won't surprise you, that dream work is good for everybody. Either of those types of people. I might say that dream work might even be more beneficial at first to the people who actually don't care about their dreams. Because the people who aren't even curious about their dreams or don't care about their dreams, I think are really missing out on opportunities for rich experiences they're not having in their lives right now, which isn't to say that they're not having rich, fulfilling lives. I'm not saying that if you don't remember your dreams at all or don't care about your dreams at all, that you're not having a good, healthy, enriching life. Of course you may be. All I'm saying is that people who already pay attention to their dreams even a little bit, maybe already just getting the benefits of dreaming. Or of being curious about their dreams, whereas the people who aren't are completely missing out on that. So if those people, why bother? Why bother with dream work? For the people who really don't think they have any dreams, who really believe they don't remember their dreams, they have no recall, starting to do dream work, you're going to see results immediately. Immediately. Because what happens when you start to do dream work, like with any exercise or sport or practice, it's the same with dream work. Once you start committing to it or engaging in it, you automatically, like within days, start having better dream recall. And then within days after that, you start having more dreams. It really feeds upon itself. And so, since I'm somebody who really believes that engaging with dreams is an enriching experience, not always a positive experience, not always a pleasure-filled experience, and I'll talk more about that in a bit too, but an enriching experience, an experience that brings more to your life, that deepens your connections to life, to yourself, to people, that offers you access to memories you have forgotten that might be really important, that allows you access to a kind of knowing of yourself that isn't necessarily available to you in your waking life when your stories are in the way, when your ego is in the way, when your anxieties are in the way. That people who don't remember their dreams at all, once they start even just working a little bit to recall them, things open up really quickly for them. And then suddenly they have access to all sorts of feelings, encounters, interactions that they never had access to before. So why bother doing dream work? Because even if you're someone who feels really good about your life right now, really satisfied, really content, I guarantee you that there are areas in your life that still you're missing. And remembering your dreams might offer you access to those areas. If you're somebody who is, very career oriented, really business oriented, you might find that engaging with your dreams allows you to come up with unique creative solutions to challenges you're meeting at work. If you're somebody who is, again, even if you're content in your romantic relationships, but maybe things have become a little stale, or, there's a struggle that you're having at home with your partner as it relates to your children, dreams are really clever at getting your attention and having you look differently or focus differently on the challenge that you might be meeting in your life. Because even those of us who are content, who are satisfied in all areas of our life, we're not perfect human beings, and dream work is a way to look at things a little bit differently. And then there are, of course, the people who do remember their dreams or are curious about their dreams, but struggle to remember them after they wake up, or their dreams feel so too bizarre or surreal to make sense, or they don't have anyone to really engage in conversation with about their dreams. Dream work, especially with a dream work practitioner or in a dream circle with other dream curious people, it's amazing. It sounds over dramatic to say it can be life-changing. It can be life-changing, but what I found that also pretty instantly, working your dreams opposite somebody else, right? So I'm saying opposite, but it doesn't have to be physically opposite, but working your dreams so somebody else is listening to your dreams, sharing your dreams, having to consider the language for a dream that you had, even just writing down your dream, knowing that you're going to have a reader, someone on the other end who's going to have to understand this dream, can open up an aha moment for you. Sometimes that happens through wordplay. You're writing something down and you realize you write a word down and you think, oh, that's funny. I never thought about it that way, right? Our mind engages differently with the dream when we are trying to organize it in a way where we can relate it to somebody else. We can share it with somebody else. So even if you're somebody who is dream curious and you are, you remember your dreams, maybe you don't write them down, you don't voice them anywhere, doing this work, writing them down, engaging with them will also open you up to new ways of thinking about yourself, your life, your job, your partner, your children, your hopes, your dreams, your fears, your anxieties, your stubborn patterns. Just the act of writing them down or speaking them out loud. I'm engaged right now in just sort of, I would say, a more casual dream work relationship with a close friend of mine. And the way that we're engaged right now is we don't live near each other. We live in different time zones. And she, I would say, probably fell more into the camp of I don't remember my dreams before we started doing this. And she has been leaving me voice memos in the morning, sharing her dreams. Not every day, but, often. And I've just been sort of reflecting back, some interesting, I guess, things that have come up in listening to her dreams. So because she's a close friend of mine and because we have a very close relationship, I would say that I'm engaged in a different type of dream work with her than I would be with a client. And it can be sort of casual like this. I would not engage in dream work like this at all with a client. The work that I do with clients is a lot more present and experiential, and I would say also has a protocol, but this is a friend of mine. And it's remarkable to me in such a short time how quickly her dream recall has improved and the benefits that she's getting just from being willing to show up and share with me her dreams. And this morning I was so moved. She was sharing a dream, which I'm not going to share the details of right now, but simply in the process of relaying the story to me, she had a spontaneous realization in the sharing, in that moment, that brought her to tears. In that moment of sharing. And I was almost brought to tears. I was so moved by that. So moved at the idea that had she forgotten that dream, had she not taken the time to share it with me, this moment where basically a family member came through for her in such a selfless way, and this is a family member that she's struggling with right now in waking life. She's really struggling with this family member, and in the dream, as she's retelling the dream, it happens all of a sudden. She realizes it in the telling, wow, how much this family member came through for her. And she's just, started crying. Wow. I mean, so amazing and so beautiful. And, if you've done personal development work, spiritual development work, if you've been in therapy, you're probably aware that in our waking lives, our ego, if we want to call it our ego, we can call it our mind, we can call it like our stories. We are, as human beings, we are made up of our stories. We are made to create stories. Our lives are very linear, very time-oriented, very story-oriented. And we are very conditioned. We are creatures of habit. And if you've done this work, you know that it's not easy to break out of habits. Even when you work really hard at it, even when you're in therapy, even when you're doing mindfulness practices. I've been engaged in this type of work, let's just say call it personal development work, since I was 19. I saw my first therapist when I was 19 years old. I'm 48 years old. So we're talking 30 years of working on stuff, anxiety, feelings of like self-worth, healing traumas from childhood, healing relationships with myself and others. And I think finally this year I realized, oh, this is just lifelong work. This is lifelong work. And as with everything in life, pain and pleasure and abundance and poverty and like loneliness and feelings of community and togetherness, like life is cyclical. Up and down, back and forth. Life is just cyclical, for better and for worse and for better, right? And for better. And I think lately in my life, I'm realizing this is lifelong work because life is cyclical, for better, for worse, and for better, right? Because the fact that it's cyclical means that inevitably it will get better when it's not good. It will. And I know that's a big statement, and I know that's a really big statement, especially when you're going through tough times. And I've been through that. I've been through tough times where the last thing I wanted was for someone to say to me, it's going to get better, because it did not seem like it was going to get better. Really. And I'm a pretty positive, optimistic person in general in life. So if things seem like they're not going to get better for me, they must be pretty bad. But this is also why bother. This is also why bother doing dream work. In my most recent dream work session with my teacher, he said he had a bunch of gems. Like he's my dream teacher is also a writer and a professor of writing and a poet. So he has, a brilliant gift with language, and I'm also a writer. And so, of course, I love that. And as often as I'm writing notes in my little dream journal about things that he says about my dreams, I'm also writing gems, things that he shares, because he really just has a beautiful gift for language. And he was talking about how in modern life we miss out on the participation in our own lives, that we miss out on participating in our lives, and that dreams force us to stop and to participate. Now, that's not true of every single dream, right? But for instance, I had a dream. I've had lately in my own dream work, I've been working with what we commonly call nightmares, but in natural dream work, we don't. We sort of see all dreams as good dreams, because even the dreams that leave us feeling terror are dreams that allow us opportunity to connect with ourselves, to connect with our souls, to just connect in general. Fear is a feeling. If you are feeling terror, you are alive. And this has been a hard lesson for me to learn. I'm starting to understand how a lot of my anxiety across the years of my life has been a way of sort of coping with my fear of fear. And I can't tell you exactly how I know this, but I'm almost starting to believe that I've had anxiety across my life as a way of trying to avoid like huge waves of terror. So like, how you leave a faucet running a little bit in the winter sometimes if you have old pipes so your pipes don't freeze. So I feel like my anxiety has been like that, where like if I could let a little bit of fear and panic drip through, I wouldn't be so impacted maybe by like terror, by the fear. I would be better prepared or something. I'm not saying I did this consciously, not at all. But I think I might have done it, unconsciously. And so lately in my own dream work, I'm really actively engaging with terror and fear. And it's not fun, but it is like extraordinarily moving and inspiring, and I'm thinking healing. I'm not quite there yet, right? I'm still in process with this particular issue in my life. But one of the other things that my teacher said in my recent dream work session that I really can start to see is true is that fear is the antidote to ego. That terror dissolves ego. I mean, think about the moments in your life when you have been in really true fear, like fear for your life. And if you're lucky, it hasn't been often. But if you're a dreamer and you're engaged in dream work, you get access to that more often. And it's not something to avoid if it dissolves the ego, if it dissolves the I, because dissolving the ego and dissolving the I and getting underneath our stories allows us to access more feeling, which allows us to access more connection to others, which, like, think about it, it's like kind of really what we're here for. Connection. Maybe it's connection to your soul. Maybe it's connection to your passion. Maybe it's deep, heart-centered connection to your work. But it's connection. Like, we want to feel connected. And ego and mind and story, that's not what's leading us to connection. It's not leading us to our soul. Feeling is. And terror is a feeling. And it made so much sense to me then when he said, terror is the antidote to ego, or terror dissolves the ego. So why bother doing dream work? I would say it's to feel moved, to feel more feeling, to feel more connected to yourself and to others. And just even in a more basic way, I would say it allows you to get outside yourself, your I, your insistence on knowing that you know what's best for yourself, for others. You know what happened. You know how it was. You know how it's going to go. You know how it's going to end. Dream work is humbling. Dream work is funny. Dream work offers you weird, surreal opportunities to look at your life differently. And when you're lucky, dreams scare the shit out of you. And when you're lucky, dreams allow you to hug or kiss someone that you haven't been able to because you've been too caught up in your stories of how they've wronged you. And when you're lucky, dreams give you the solution to the problem that has been haunting you for the last 6 weeks. And when you're lucky, dreams let you meet your child self and your son who is now 18 as a baby, and your mom who has passed, or your sister who you haven't talked to in 15 years. That's what dream work opens up to you. And it's just amazing and a gift. So that is what I have to offer you this month, this second day of spring and this new moon. And until next time, I am sending you love across time and space and wishing for you more dreams.